welcome to this Walking Life, the YouTube channel that takes the viewer walking around Melbourne, Australia. As I'm sitting here recording, Melbourne is still in the hardest of hard lockdown compared to most places around the world. And this particular full-length episode is again going from Blackburn to Surrey Hills return in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, Australia. Because why not? Because one of the limitations of our lockdown is we can only travel in any direction 5 kilometres from our home. So, but this time we're going by train, just for a bit of variety. And plus, I'm still in a stage of testing out the style of this channel. It's going to evolve organically. The main goal, as I've set myself, is to just get the content, create it, publish it, review it, get it up there, get it out there. That's the main aim of the game. And I've not really seen other YouTubers. I suppose it doesn't really sort of make sense to give a commentary on your own content, but for me it does, because it's making me sit down and watch the thing as it runs, and just what I'm looking for in these commentaries, in these early ones. I might not always do these commentaries, but especially for these initial ones, just to look at the filming technique, just to look at the editing, explain to the audience why I've made certain choices about filming, certain choices about equipment, certain choices about editing, and let you know what editing software I'm using, and just some general rambling, but hopefully not too much. So anyway, what I want to focus on in this first part of this video is, well, I suppose the filming style. And you can see, we can all see straight away that it's not a very smooth frame. There's a lot of shaking and wobbling around. So what I'm basically doing is I'm holding a digital handheld camera in my right hand. I'm trying not to shake it. I don't have any other equipment like a gimbal or whatever, so I'm just testing out what it looks like. I've seen other walking video content on other YouTube channels. It ranges from the perfectly still in 4K mode to footage filmed at night in very busy streets, more or less as, if not more, shaky than this. And so I figure, why not? Why can't I film like this? Is the first goal I've set myself. I've filmed with this camera before 4 years ago. I've filmed around this area before on another project. This camera, I didn't initially pick it up when I bought it for filming video or recording sound, but it does both. And I think it does. I think it does a competent enough job. The only problem with the microphone is that it's an internal microphone within the camera, so that's why you'll hear the wind buffeting from an audio point of view. But it picks up a lot of sound from a long way away, and as you'll see and hear immediately, like, this little camera gives me the opportunity to do some pretty interesting things and make the picture far more dynamic and interesting. As I'm going to play around, as if you just wait patiently. There it is, the train coming now. So I'm going to try something interesting here. I've not tried this particular move before, but it, just to make it interesting for the viewer, like, by habit, and it's going to flip around here in a second. Most people, when they stand waiting for a train, stand at right angles and face forward to the train doors. Have you ever noticed that? Nobody stands on an angle. Nobody ever stands with their back to the train approaching. But from a filming point of view, it just, in the spur of the moment, it just seemed to me to be more interesting visually to point the camera away and then spin round. The fact that this camera's so small, it's the size of my palm, I can just do really interesting things, movements with it. So we're on the train from Blackburn. Now, the other interesting thing about doing this filming during this lockdown is there's just no people around, obviously. So this is like I like doing this at this time. From a documentary point of view, the trains are empty, the roads are empty, the shops are empty, and so I've got on the train here at about 5 to 7 on a weekday morning. It's a normal working weekday morning in spring in Melbourne, and this train is stopping on stations here. There should be the carriage would normally be 3/4 to completely full, all the seats, and the express trains start up at about 7:10 until 9:30 to the city, and you can barely get on at Blackburn. I'm very lucky that Blackburn is a terminating station, so we have three choices. There's the trains that come from further up the line. There's the stopping all stations train that starts at Blackburn. It's a very convenient service, which is one of the aims of this channel, is to show how easy it is to get around. I've got another channel starting up about public transport, but that's more about construction works and level crossing works. But the aim of this channel is to show how easy it is to get around, but also just general, what goes on in the city, and just mimic and adapt other ideas from other YouTube channels which are about walking around cities. Because I suppose a walking around topic is really about people watching, isn't it? As much as anything. And so this video, as opposed to the first one, is far more watchable, I guess, because the majority of it is the camera is still and stationary. It's just a train ride, isn't it, really? The train, it's an 8-minute trip from one end to the other, and then 8 minutes back again. But I've stretched this one out because I'm walking around the station, and you would never, on a normal shopping trip, you would never wander the streets the way I'm going to in this video. But for the purposes of the audience, and in my head, the audience for these videos and this content is people overseas, people who are interested in seeing a little bit more than what Google Maps provides, or Google cars driving around, and it's a bit more on the ground, a bit more guerrilla in terms of filming. So it's also this video is just about testing out. Well, I've filmed on trains before, but I've never really filmed like this. Just a stationary camera, just taking in what's going by. I wouldn't have believed that people would want to watch this type of content on YouTube, but there's never been a better time to create content this year. Everybody's hampered in their movement and work life and their home life by this pandemic. And people are going to be, and I was doing it myself, and that's how I really decided to come across these styles of videos. So for the most part, so far in this filming, I'm happy with the frame, the composition. I'm happy with the steadiness of the frame, and the camera's not shaking too much. The sound is picking up, the sound of the air conditioning even, and it's picking up the breaking morning light. So it's about 7:10, 7:05 now as the train's going on. So what can I do to mitigate the shaking of the camera? And is the shaking of the camera that big an issue that it will turn people off? That they'll click out of the video, they'll never come back, or they'll leave negative comments? Well, I'm keen to persist, because from what I've seen of other walking videos, I think there's a style, and I think there's a style for everyone. Everyone can be catered for. And then there's the people who are literally looking for walking content, or looking for tourism content, or looking for lifestyle content within the city that they're thinking of living in or studying in. And with Melbourne and Australia being a massive destination for international tertiary education and vocational education, and it's still going to be, well, I figure, and this area, Box Hill is a huge area for Asian students, Chinese and Koreans, and whoever else is drawn to the area. And we know for a fact, or I know for a fact, that Melbourne real estate agents are always, for years, they've been actively promoting sales to China, and to the point where there's businesses that actually host tour buses of prospective Chinese property buyers around the place. So, this style of content, we already know that there's video content in terms of virtual tours. Before the pandemic, the lockdowns have imposed on real estate agents the need for virtual inspections, virtual auctions. So it seems to me that video content like this, of walking around the suburbs when you can't actually travel here, offers something different that's worth having a go at. So with the shaky video, I used to use, so I'll talk about the editing software that I've been using for years, which I've got a Toshiba laptop. It's almost past its use by date. It's 5 years old. Oh, now here's I'll just quickly comment so that you can see there's only four of us on that train carriage, and it's just desolate, isn't it? Actually, I might just comment on. I might just postpone the comments on the editing for the moment. But the reason I've come to a standstill and I'm hesitating going down the platform is I couldn't actually put my other hand, my free hand, on my mickey card. But you can see here again, it's another example of how dynamic you can make this picture. I'm not putting myself in any danger. I'm just merely walking within the safe limits of the edge of the platform, and it gives the appearance, because the camera was in my right hand next to the train going past it just gives it a really nice dynamic, which makes it just so much more interesting to look at, doesn't it? So I'm meandering on the platform on purpose, because I know the train movements through this station so well. I've been travelling on this line for 30 years, in and out to work, and for all sorts of reasons. So on the left, that's the stopping all stations, and in the morning there's 2 trains going to the city. The middle track is the express, but it also the express will stop at this station every 15-20 minutes, and it'll come through, and you'll see one coming through now is that eastbound train into the suburbs leaves, and I'd heard the horn of the train approaching, and it'll come around the bend in a second. And again, just sticking with this technique of walking along the edge of the platform, behind the yellow line, safely behind, and holding the camera in a fashion that looks as though I'm walking at the train, using the curve of the track, and it's really dynamic. So these little things, although the camera is small and compact and hasn't got much in terms of bells and whistles, like, it's got a whole lot of advantages as well. So here I'm still meandering down the platform on purpose because I couldn't find my Mikey card, and the reason I'm pointing the camera periodically at doors and meaningless nature shots in front of me at times is because the camera, the SD card I upgraded recently, but it still only films for 10 minutes at a time, and then it stops. And although that's annoying, it actually forces me to concentrate, so that I'm always present in terms of what I'm doing. That I'm not sort of daydreaming as I'm sort of walking along. Like I'm thinking all the time about how I'm holding the camera, what I'm filming. I'm always thinking about what's coming up next, because I want everything to be organic and natural. I don't want to sort of retrace my steps and go, oh, I should have filmed that. No, I want it to be like any sort of behaviour, normal behaviour that any of us might do when we're travelling from one place to another. So I'm taking the long way round in this video now that I'm at my destination, and I'm doing that on purpose because after all it is walking around Melbourne. So why not show off the streets? And I've got we've all got the time, so I'm just keen to sort of show the viewer more than the train station, because this is. And as I'm commentating, I'm commentating for people that don't live in Melbourne. So if you live in Melbourne or Sydney and you're bored stupid by some middle-aged bloke walking around with the camera in his own hometown, well, ostensibly you're not my target audience. My target audience is people overseas who lived here or visited here or backpacked through here. Enjoy keeping up to date with what's going on in terms of news, and interested to see whether things have changed. I found myself looking at a walking video, a driving video of Vancouver 2 or 3 weeks ago, which really got me thinking about this sort of content. And I spent 6 of the best weeks when I was backpacking in Vancouver, and I just watched the whole 2-hour driving video, trying to spot familiar streets and street names that were still stuck in my head. I was interested in what had changed. So getting back to the editing, and with this laptop, it's I hope it's not on its last legs. Anyway, so it had some proprietary software installed called Movie Maker. And that's what I first used to teach myself to edit videos. I'm entirely self-taught, probably like most YouTube creators. And I found that an extension of, if you've ever used a graphic design software called InDesign, I found it a little bit similar to that. in terms of mechanics and pragmatically how you move images around and chop and change and cut and all those sort of things. So I quite enjoyed it, and I found it really intuitive and easy to learn and simple to use, and it did the job as far as I was concerned. But unfortunately, over the years, especially the last 2 or 3 years, with the upgrades of software and the changing nature of technology and the fact that this laptop is 5 to 6 years old now, Movie Maker is crashing more. It's not being added to updates. It's getting overridden by Windows 10, and it's just taking too long. So what to do? So I don't want to splash out on anything too expensive, because really a key thing I tapped into from a YouTube channel creator in Vancouver, funnily enough, a couple of weeks ago. She said, the great thing about YouTube is it's a low-cost startup, and that really resonated with me, because I've tried a few different things in my time, but I've never been able to monetize my creative or creative projects or my soft skill set. And I've been down that road where you do spend your own money trying to set yourself up with different things, and the key for this now for me is low cost startup. So I didn't want to spend a lot of money on Adobe Pro, or if I could afford a new laptop, I would get one. But I want to work with what I've got, and I don't want to spend money on a bells and whistles camera or audio. It all works, and I know it works, and I know how to make it work. So, but I couldn't make do with Movie Maker, and so I spent a bit of time, a couple of days, Google desktop researching editing software, and I came across something called Filmora 9, and that's made by a company, or it has the brand of Wondershare on it. Now I've had Wondershare, other types of Wondershare software for about 4 to 5 years for other reasons, and as soon as I saw that brand, well, that's all I needed, because I've found it very reliable. I've bought lifetime subscriptions before to their other software, so it was about 100 and something. It was about 100 and something US, so it was 150 Australian. So I was really pleased when I started using it, because I found it was, there's the toilet paper, and I know that's not actually toilet paper, that's hand towels. I always get those mixed up, but anyway, there is toilet paper in Melbourne. So as soon as I downloaded it and paid that fee, I was really super happy and content with my choice, because I found it really intuitive, the Filmora, and not far off the way Movie Maker was set up. But what I was really looking for, and this is taking me a while to get round to the whole topic I was trying to cover in this commentary, is about how am I trying to deal with the shaky camera. Well, if the footage was shaky and using Movie Maker, there was just one button to press, and it just worked a treat. Not that I had too much cause to use it, because most of my previous filming with this camera has been, walking from location to location, and then stopping, holding a very steady hand, not doing too much zoom, and overall the end result was that the published footage was fine. But what I've found with the Filmora so far, I'm still teaching myself, is I haven't found that ease of use yet with its stabilization components So maybe there's still a bit for me to learn, but I haven't got the same degree of confidence about the software being able to keep the footage more stable for me. Which at this stage I'm not too worried about, but I had a big session today trying to stabilise footage, and what I realised was that the software punches in and zooms in on shot and makes the composition of the frame smaller. So I wasn't too keen on that. I'd rather have the original shaky frame rather than the opportunity at the expense of having a more stable visual aesthetic by losing footage that I really want the viewer to see. So yeah, there's still a bit of learning to do, still a bit of experimenting to do. If anyone's watching who does have experience with Filmora 9 or has any other suggestions, it would be nice to hear. Or maybe also if you, whatever comments you've got or feedback about what sort of impact this is making on your viewer experience. Is it really detracting from it, or it doesn't matter, or does it just make it more dynamic? One thing I'm trying to do when I'm walking and filming is I'm trying to be very, very conscious that I don't want to swing the camera around too much. If I do change the direction of the shot, I want to try and be consciously making sure that I don't swing it around suddenly. That if I do, because the viewer hasn't got the advantage of what I've got for my naked eye as I'm walking down the street, obviously. So I don't want to jar the viewer too much with too many jerky camera movements in different directions. I've hit upon a technique where I'm holding the camera at about waist height nearly in front of my belt buckle, which seems to be working. Because the other thing that I've noticed in reviewing footage is that my hand is drooping at different angles, so sometimes it won't be perfectly perpendicular to the ground, so there might be a bit of a slant creeping into some parts of the footage. But at the same time, like I'm not too worried. Like I'm not too worried. Like yes, I'm sure people will be turned off by the quality of the video and the quality of the audio, but at the same time, we've all got our own style, haven't we? And I think style and branding, it's like any content in a movie or a TV show or a YouTube channel that once you get used to the style and you make a decision about whether you want to keep watching it or consuming it, and then it's the what is the content delivering. So this is this particular channel, it's just going to aim for a pretty broad mainstream base. It's not about opinions or entertainment. It's really Melbourne is the entertainment. Melbourne is the personality of this channel. I want to share my knowledge of Melbourne, my love of Melbourne. I like using public transport. I don't have a car, and I think as the restrictions ease with COVID, I think this channel will come into its own, because it won't. This channel isn't about wandering aimlessly around suburban streets. My goal is to take the viewer to all of the things that Melbourne's famous for, all of the sporting events, all of the cultural events, all the things that we enjoy doing here as a lifestyle, and that's what I want to put on the screen. And then that's when the people watching aspect will come into it, because the crowds will be back, and the streets hopefully won't be empty for too much longer. Although personally, I think this is going to drag on for another couple of years. That's just my gut feeling. I can't, because I can't see this changing anytime soon. Our government's already acknowledged that our international borders are going to be closed pretty much all next year. So, you know, that's a lot of tourists not coming. That's a lot of international students coming for tertiary and vocational education experiences, and of course migrants. So yeah, it's going to be the streets of Melbourne and Sydney, all around the place. They are going to be noticeably bereft of the usual crowds for the foreseeable future. So that's another plus for this channel, I think, that with some hooking into some keywords of tourism and tourism related topics. You know, maybe this channel can fill a void in an online sense somehow. Now here's another example of making this camera really, and that's really dynamic for me. I can create little teaser clips, 30-second teaser clips out of these trains and other things. So I'm happy with interacting with you know, what I've got around me to try and make the picture more dynamic. Because the advantage of being on foot and the advantage of going a little bit out of the way and making use of the ridiculous amount of time that I've got on my hands, it just gives me the opportunity to experiment. So another creative decision that I've made, I've decided that I won't edit out these moments and periods of minutes, or moments and periods of minutes where there's just nothing going on, where I'm not walking, there's nothing happening. This, from memory, this is the first thought that I had. I realised when I got to the platform that it was a 10-minute wait, and I straight away knew that I wouldn't turn off the camera or edit out the footage, because walking around and getting from one place to another, that's all part of it. You're going to be waiting sometimes. You're not always going to walk onto a train. I want it to be really organic and natural. I don't want to contrive anything for the camera. This also gives me a good opportunity to orientate the viewer. You know, if the viewer's paying attention or really wants to know, like see, you know, the lay of the land. Now this just quickly note, this train station is actually going to be demolished and dug up. The level crossing is going to be taken out in the next couple of years. So, you know, this is all getting back to the other topic of what I mentioned before about documenting the area. This suburb is going to change in a big way in the next 5 years. There's no way known that all these trees and the visual aesthetic of this neighbourhood is going to change radically. There's no way known that they can dig up and dig down. They'll have to dig 8 to 10 metres down so the trains can pass underneath. The train station will be completely rebuilt. All the trees on every side of this train crossing, the aesthetic of this neighbourhood is going to be radically altered. So all the things that Melburnians love about Surrey Hills, it's gone, and I can say that for sure because exactly the same thing happened 4 years ago in Blackburn. That we lost all our trees, all our streetscape, and it was just replaced by concrete. Um, so so that's another reason for taking time and filming things. And this was the first opportunity I had to sort of. I realised I've watched some other YouTube channels where people have been putting down the camera or setting it up. Now I would have left it there longer. I was having I was having I was having some some seniors moments with my Mikey card. I I couldn't find it when I got off the train when I got there, and I thought that it might have found its way into an invisible pocket. And when I couldn't find it, I thought, well, maybe I just poked it towards the pocket and actually just went straight into thin air and ended up on the ground at the train platform when I started my journey. Well, as I was ferreting around my pockets while the camera was on the ground, I found the Mikey card. So I've gone all the way down the end. I've got to go all the way back and touch on because because the ticket inspectors aren't working from home. They're still riding the trains in their packs. Now here's an example of one of the trains that comes through on the express line, but this is the one that stops at Surrey Hills Station. So I've managed to capture all aspects of public transport this morning. You still see it's still not 7:30. Now normally this station, the car park would be full by now, and that train would be packed. You wouldn't be able to see through from one side to the other like you can there. You can see one person on that train, and that train platform would have been packed with people waiting to get on, and they'd be struggling to get on. So you know, that's why keen. I'm keen to see this channel become a document of record. That these times that we lived through. This is the visual effect and the psychological effect they had on us. There's just no one around, is there? When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the olden days. When I was under 10, because I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up in the shadows of World War II. They were still stretching well into the 70s when I was a kid, because Western culture was just obsessed with World War II, wasn't it? The Vietnam War. I was always conscious of the history of the generations that had come before me, and I was obsessed with the olden days and what it was like to live 100 years ago, 200 years ago, what it was like for the early explorers, what it was like for the gold, during the gold rush. And so by filming during this pandemic, I'm documenting for people living 100 years, if they, because I'm sure this will have an effect psychologically on the generations of kids that are missing out on school at the moment anyway. But we'll stick to the subject, which is the technical aspects of this filming. But the great thing about the train being empty is it gives me an opportunity to, I've got the whole carriage to myself. It looks like, I'm looking at those seats and it's just reminding me of an empty classroom. Normally this train wouldn't have too many people on it during normal times. There'd be a few, but it wouldn't be packed like the train going the other way. But yeah, it just gave me the chance to film. Now, so that's an edit there. The 10-minute limit was reached, and what I do is I just train the camera on a fixed point and stop and start again, and it just so that's an edit point. What else can I say about the editing? So yeah, the idea, I want this I want the content to be really low maintenance to put together. I just want it to be fairly easy. I want to have a basic intro, a basic outro with credits. That'll evolve as well. I've seen most YouTube channels have an intro of 5 to 10 seconds. I'm reasonably verbose by nature, so I haven't quite got one down under 25 seconds yet. But on the other hand, getting back to that, you know, branding and personality. Well, that's my personality, and you know, YouTube. The great thing is you don't have to wait for the ads. You can click forward if you don't like it. If you want to get into it straight away. I won't lie. So the first clip I uploaded, maybe today's the 11th. I think it was the 3rd of October. I uploaded the first one. So I put up 5 or 6 or 7 clips, and I've only got 50 to 55 views and 24 unique visitors, and you know, the watch time is pretty low. It's only about 2.5 minutes. But I'm not too worried. Like, it's early days. It'll take a while for the keywords. I've been pretty specific with the keywords. I'm watching a few more tutorials and commentary videos from more successful YouTubers on sharing their experiences and success tips. So I've never really done that before, so I've never really taken notice before, because I never did see myself as a content creator for YouTube. But I was, you know, it's common sense, isn't it? You've got to know who your audience is. So the first thing was to create the niche, and that was one thing holding me back, or, you know, turning me off YouTube for years, was I didn't really see it as a serious medium for someone like myself. So I've always had a very commercial outlook on whatever creative project I pursue, or what I put my time and effort into. And the key for this is, who's gonna, like always, who's gonna be watching this stuff? Who's gonna be looking for it? So yeah, the keywords are gonna drive people here, but I'm not too worried. Like, I think it'll take 2 to 4, maybe 6 months to build up a head of steam. But, you know, I know for a fact that, you know, once it turns, it really takes off. So it's really a case of, like, I know there's an audience for this stuff. I know that there's other people already creating this content, and I can't see that it, what am I trying to say? So far, I see it as a worthwhile investment of time and effort, and considering that all I've had to pay is just over 100 Australian dollars for the film editing software. But this isn't my main. This won't be soaking up. Oh, so well, you can see the camera there. So the sun really hasn't come up. We've just hit daylight saving, so the sun's coming up just that hour later. So you can see how small the camera is. From a professional point of view, I'm trying to make sure that when I frame the shot, I'm cropping out my shadow. I've got caught there with my reflection, but I want to try and always have the impression that you know, you don't know who's behind the camera or how it's being put together. But I was just going to say that this channel is not my main concern, my main goal. The one that I'm going to really put time and effort into, and I've already got the content. Is I've got about 40 hours worth of content from 4 years ago when I was spent 4 to 6 weeks filming around Blackburn, the removal of the level crossing, and it was a mockumentary type. Well, it was very, very mockumentary in the way I set it up because it was just me, and I was riffing off the cuff, commentating as I was filming as a mockumentary character, a consultant pretending to be part of all the works going on and being a liaison between the government and the project workers. So that's the main one that I want to establish, and that I see a future for. So we'll probably get about just over 10 minutes left, possibly. The next station is Blackburn. Then I'm going to get off the train and go for a coffee. And the battery ran out, actually. I'll tell you when that happened. Where I had to go back the next day and finish the rest. But it was a fortuitous thing that happened, because it gave me the chance to experiment with a bit more shot composing and whatever. So I put down the camera, and you'll see it when I'll wait till we get there. But I'm not too worried about. I'm constrained by the battery life.
Now arriving at Blackburn. Change here for Belgrade and
10 minutes at a time, but I'm using those to my advantage. I'm not too worried about all the filming has to be done in one hit. If I go back, I'll do it. I've already got another battery lined up. I'm going to get another SD card. I can't go get the battery or the other extra SD card because they're outside my 5 kilometre travel limit, unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be. So I've got to wait.
Blackburn,
waiting
change
never
here
ends,
for Belgrade
especially
and Lilydale.
this time. So yeah, that's an edit right there. So I'm not. You can see that I'm not too fussed. Like, I do have my standards, but I'm not too fussed about that people seeing behind the red curtain. I'm not too fussed because I'm not a full-on production house. It's just me doing all this, the filming, the editing, the publishing, the managing. So like so many other YouTubers, once I hit my straps, say by this time next year, my goal would be, I would like the videos to be really seamless in terms of the editing. If it warrants it, and I'm just experimenting with proximity to the train again. I think there's be a bit of a hallmark for me. I can make a few. So the thing I thought of today is I can make little teaser clips, 30-second teaser clips out of these, and drive more traffic towards the longer videos. I can mix them up. So the plan is, at this stage, as things are evolving, my plan is to keep doing these commentary videos for the time being. I just see it as a more efficient way of communicating with the audience and the viewers. I've seen other YouTube channels where the people who run the channels actually say, "Oh, I can't get to the comments. It's just so time consuming. I want to get back to everyone." So I get it. So if I end up getting, say, so many comments that it's so time consuming, I'd rather answer all the comments like this in a director's commentary. You see people doing Q&A videos, so that makes sense to me. That's much more time efficient. And what else? So yeah, director's commentaries maybe once a week or once a fortnight. I think I can, out of these, what I'll do is keep making these long videos that are over an hour, and then it makes sense to chop them up. I'm not fussed about they've got to be exactly the same length in short form or long form. Like however they turn out is how they'll be published and presented. I might turn these commentaries into a podcast type vlog as well, because I think the other thing is with YouTube is there's no rules as far as I can tell. So long as the content meets the viewer's satisfaction, and so long as it's hitting its mark in terms of, you know, what are the keywords, what's the audience you're aiming at. That's the main thing. And, you know, it's early days, and I'm just having fun with this as well, which is really important because it's been some year, hasn't it? So yeah, my main goal when I was filming this one was just take my time, film around the stations, give people the lay of the land. And just because I film this particular street or route once, maybe I'll, you know, if it's warranted later on, that people say, well, I do like the content, it's great to see these areas being presented on YouTube, but, you know, the video's too shaky, or well, I'll go back and do it. I'm not fussed, because that means people are engaged. So the main thing is that I want people engaged, and you know, this is a fairly basic channel, just presenting Melbourne visually, just by walking around it. But you know, again, you know, you can think of all the different ways you can get around. And you can't get around Melbourne like this on Google Maps, or on a shopping tour, or on a train, or anyway. So yeah, it was. I thought when I was on the train, I thought, well, I'll just go have a coffee, because I hadn't had breakfast by this stage. I'm a morning person, so I tend to just wake up and get up if. Even when there's nothing to be done. And the good thing about getting up and going early is, especially even during the COVID lockdown, not too many people are up and around. So I was coming up this laneway, and what I didn't know at the time, although I was starting to get conscious of it, in the back of my mind was, how much battery have I got left? Because you'll notice every so often the camera will just sort of point in a strange direction, and that's me checking the time on the viewfinder. So this is on the 6th, and the next shot you'll see will be the same scenery. Now we're on the 7th, the day after, and the ground's a bit drier, or is dry, and the light's just about the same. Excuse me. So I decided to have a coffee, and in my head I already knew that I was going to set the camera down. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to. Oh no! Oh dear. All right, so I'm going to leave this in. So this is me. This is me not checking my edit properly before publishing. So I'm going to leave that in as a lesson to myself, that I've got to be a bit more professional. Alright, so now you definitely know that that was an edit, and this is a different day, because you can see the ground is a bit there's more moisture on the ground. There's cars that were there that were never there, and there's a Australia Post delivery truck, people riding past. It was actually busier. So I got back there about the same time the next day, but it was actually busier, and this is a Friday morning. Now normally this stretch of road in Blackburn is absolutely chockers with cars. There's a big intersection up to the left there, and there's one to our right. And I thought I had I thought I was pointing up to the left a lot more strongly than what it is showing. Anyway, so yeah, I was a bit surprised at how much traffic there was, because it's been incredibly quiet, the traffic in Blackburn. Anyway, so, and I thought the kids were back at school as well, but they went back today. Anyway, so my my plan was thwarted, but I thought there was a spot to put down the camera, but this worked out actually even better. So I picked up this idea of watching a Japanese girl, I forget what town she lives in. She went to Kyoto on the train one early morning. She put down the camera and went walking around in front of it. And I thought, well, I'll do that. I'll do that. That'll work for me. And so the traffic was, there was a lot. There was more people than usual at this cafe. I don't usually go to this cafe. And you'll see that I had to wait for quite a while. Did I go straight up? Yeah, I did. I do normally wear the high-vis vest, even with smart casual clothes, because I just feel a bit safer that people can see me, and because I've been quite absent-minded walking around. So it worked out really well for this particular part of the footage, because you can see me clearly. So I'd set down the camera. I just thought it was really interesting to just set it down. It's a very busy intersection. There's always traffic. You saw the double B semi-trailer. There's a very big new construction project going on up the road behind the camera. And so you'll see the way this intersection works is the traffic comes from the right, wheels away to a right-hand turn, and then goes left over where the train line used to stop the traffic. There's a roundabout there behind that woman in the orange, and it's actually a bit busier. It's a bit busier than I thought it'd be. So I'm standing there waiting for the coffee. Not too concerned about how long it's taking, because it's all good for the video. It's padding it out. And then about now, I'm looking up Railway Road towards the camera, to the left behind the camera, and you can see that there's a lot of people walking around. People that don't have jobs to go to, people that don't have kids to take to school, people that are unemployed. No one like me wandering around with the camera, mind you. And it's about this time I sort of look up the road and I see a couple walking towards the traffic lights with a dog. And I thought, oh, this would be good. That'll be funny, a dog walking past the camera. Well, the couple split up, and the woman, you'll see, she walks past the front of the camera. Now you can see my body language is changing, that I'm going to start looking up towards the traffic lights up the road. So this guy came first, and there's a couple with a dog. Now she kept on walking towards the traffic lights and walked around in front of the camera, but her partner, he peeled off to his right, and because it's a post office, he must have posted something. And I wasn't too worried about the camera and being on the other side of the road, because I figured, well, they're never going to see it, because it was, there she goes. And the dog didn't smell the camera. Now the bloke, you won't see him, he doesn't actually appear on camera, but you can just sort of hear him. Now you can see my body language changing, going from relaxed to alert because they walked about 5 metres past the camera, and the bloke said to his lady, the good lady, he said, "Hey, there's a camera there." And they stopped and they were looking at it. And I thought they were going to run back and take it. I was dashing over the road to make sure they knew the camera did have an owner. And although I was a bit anxious when I saw them stop, and I thought they were going to walk back and take it, but I was happy for this to happen because it gave me something to talk about. and it was something unplanned, and that's the best type of footage, especially for this particular channel. Is the more unplanned the better. And finally the coffee was ready, and then I couldn't get across the road. I couldn't get across the road back to the camera. And then I was starting to think, the 10 minutes is nearly up. It'll stop, because there'd be nothing. I wouldn't want to try and contrive too much. Anyway, so it all worked out. And then I had the guy in that van there, that white pickup. He's trying to reverse into me as he's parking. So yeah, I couldn't get back fast enough, but it worked out so well because I've ended up using footage from this moment for I just cut up a little teaser, basically. So that worked out well, and I didn't plan it. Plonked the coffee cup down. Yep, perfect placement. Could have left it there maybe a couple more seconds, but not really any need. We got the gist of it. If you've watched this far, there's an edit right there. I should have waited till that. I didn't want to wait too long because there's so many cars coming around. Like I didn't want to be waiting too long. Like by this stage, I was a bit knackered. I hadn't eaten yet. I just wanted to get back and have a shower and eat and just reflect on a job well done. So quick look back up the road. There's one of those B doubles. I deliberately walked on an angle, and I figured, well, where am I going to have this coffee? I still want to keep recording, and I want to keep it interesting. So I just walked to the most obvious spot where I could keep filming the whole intersection while I took off the face mask and enjoyed the coffee. Well, tried to. And except for the pole, that's better. Got it. And so I was just having the coffee here, and I would have thought the sun might have broken out by now. Anyway, so the shot composition. Oh yeah, make sure everyone knows you're having the coffee. That the other thing is that something else that's been evolving is on, and you might have noticed that even in this video, is that I'm stopping in front of things and focusing on them, because I'm starting to think in terms of thumbnails for the videos, like that keywords, thumbnails, like all the basics, like things that what's going to attract people towards clicking on a thumbnail icon of their own accord. I figured the title for each video should be walking around Melbourne, Australia. They should be the first words, the first things people see, as opposed to I'm very particular about branding with all my projects, and uniformity, something that I picked up in my day job when I used to have one. Branding's really important. So now I'm starting to think of thumbnails, what sort of interesting views can I capture on the footage that can be used as a thumbnail later on to break it up, and be eye pleasing to the eye, while obeying all the YouTube rules that I'm starting to learn by osmosis and by design. But even just sitting the camera down, I think can work for this particular channel, because although I haven't put a whole lot of time, invested a whole lot of time in watching other walking videos. I've just basically, watched enough to get the gist. But to be walking around, getting public transport, to set the camera down for a while, like, hopefully these are things that maybe the channel can become known for by the viewer, that they'll make these little discoveries if they stick with it. But like I said, it's far too early days, and time will tell, and it might not be for another 6 or 9 months before I start seeing results in terms of, like, really significant viewer numbers and watch times and whatever other KPIs. But so long as there's movement is the main thing, and so long as there's a bit of progress in terms of audience retention. But my other plan is to start marketing this channel to the tourism sector, marketing it to the international student sector, marketing it to people that recruit international students, and then walking tours, anything connected to these keywords, basically. Like, there's, I don't see myself just relying on the YouTube algorithm. I want to push it out myself, and not just relying on spending a day sitting on my ass commenting on other YouTube channels around this topic. Like, I know that's the practice, but there's other ways to go about it and augment the way things work, and just experiment, basically. So we're coming towards the end. I started walking having not finished the coffee, because it was getting on to about maybe 8:45 by this stage, and I was really starting to feel the hunger pangs, and I really just wanted to have a shower and get back to base. I'm not going to tell you where I live or reveal where I live, but this is my local area, and I live very, very, very close to the train line. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm not going to say where. And that's where the level crossing used to be, basically. And I was going to go. I'd be interested to hear what people think about taking the camera into the supermarket with myself. I was going to go into the newsagent with the camera and buy a paper, because the Australian government released a federal budget, and it was in the papers this particular day I was filming. But it was a bit too much to cope with, going in with a camera in one hand and a coffee in the other, and the people in the news agency, which is coming up on the left. I don't think you'll see it in this particular footage, but it's just behind those orange signs, and I just decided that was one battle I didn't want to have. So we're heading into the last 2.5 minutes or so of this video. The whole point of this commentary is to try and shed some light on how I'm approaching creating content for this channel, the choices I've made in terms of filming, the choices I've made in terms of editing, try and explain or let you know why the footage is shaky, why it's not perfectly still, what I'm doing in the editing, why I've chosen to start filming around such a local area, how I'm using my time during lockdown to create this content, and why I think it's worth my time and hopefully worth your time in watching. But it'd be great if you could leave me some feedback if you've watched any of this, whether it's 5 seconds or 5 minutes, or whether you hated it. So long as there's reaction, I don't mind at this stage whether it's positive or negative, because it'll all help me. And hopefully, you know, there's some value already in this channel for you. It'd be nice to know, even if you don't plan on coming back to watch any other content, it'd be nice to know what your thoughts are, or if you've got any other suggestions of other similar sorts of channels on walking content in cities, and even the music, or just the way it finishes up. But thanks for listening to this commentary. Thanks for hearing me out. Hopefully I haven't rambled too much, and hopefully you've enjoyed this, and thanks very much, and all the best for your the rest of 2020 and this pandemic life. Oh, I forgot, I've got a teaser here for my other series, but I'll leave it here and let you enjoy this for what it is. So goodbye, and see you in the next video. And don't forget to please subscribe, like, comment, and or share. Thanks. Bye.
Waterman, yes, I'm a transport consultant to the government. It's my job to act as a liaison between STM, Asia Pacific, and the government, Victoria, and the Transport Minister in particular, to advise on timelines and make sure that everything to do with the contract that's been awarded to this firm, that the timeline's being met. So it's my pleasure to welcome you today as a visitor and investor from interstate and overseas. We'll be taking a short tour of the site, so if you come with me, we'll start right now. That ends our tour for today. We hope you enjoyed this insight into state government's preparations for how your investment money is being spent. Here at the site of the proposed new Parkville Station as part of the Melbourne Metro Underground Rail project. My name's Waterman. If you have any more questions, you can contact me via the Victorian State Government Department of Transport, STM Asia Pacific Construction.